Welcome to the United States of Small Business, a podcast where the essence of American entrepreneurship is celebrated in every episode. With host John Quick at the helm, join us as we embark on a journey through the heart of the nation, uncovering the inspiring stories of small business owners from coast to coast. Experience the vibrant energy of bustling cities and the serene beauty of small towns, all while discovering how individuals are turning their entrepreneurial dreams into reality, even against the greatest odds. Each episode brings you face to face with the dreamers, creators, and doers who form the economic backbone of our country, all sharing their spirit of innovation and resilience. Whether you are in the early stages of sowing the seeds for your own business, scaling new heights in your current venture, or simply captivated by tales of grit and triumph, you are in the right place. Tune in on platforms like Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and beyond. For deeper insights and to connect with the heart and soul of America's main streets, visit UnitedStatesOfSmallBusiness.com. Subscribe to United States of Small Business with host John Quick now and be inspired by the powerful stories of entrepreneurship, community, and the unwavering pursuit of the American dream. Begin your journey of inspiration with us today.
Welcome back to the United States of Small Business podcast. I'm your host, John Quick. In today's episode, we're joined by Sam Drauschak, the innovative mind behind Truvle. Sam and his team have revolutionized the way that businesses approach problem solving and efficiency with their groundbreaking process mapping tool. We'll dive into how Truvle is changing the game by simplifying complex processes and how Sam's insight from nature and evolution can supercharge your business's growth. Prepare to be inspired and learn how you can transform your business into a conscious, thriving ecosystem. Let's get started. So without further ado, Sam, welcome to the United States of Small Business podcast. Glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited as well.
Well, this will be great. I think it'll be fun to talk about some technology, what you've built, and advice you have to other entrepreneurs. But before we go into all that, tell me about this company that you co-founded, Truvle. It's a very fascinating company. Give us a 30,000-foot view of what this company does.
Sure. So Truvle is a process science-based software company. And what we're trying to do is, if you are going to hire a process consultant off the market, we're trying to digitize all the tools in that skill set so that small and medium businesses especially have more access to stronger process skills and what you might normally hire a consultant to do.
So why do you think this is important for that small to medium-sized business to understand a simple way to kind of process out and map out what they do as a business?
Sure. I think now more than ever, having some of these process tools in your skill set is important for small and medium businesses because you guys now have so much more access to SaaS products. You're interested as a small business in automation and using technology and leveraging AI. All those shiny new things that we want. Let's say 15 years ago, small, medium businesses didn't really have those on their agenda. There wasn't as much access. It wasn't as easy as to connect with these tools, but now everyone wants these tools and they should. But what we don't know is that the key to making those tools successful or bringing them into your business is having a strong process foundation, being able to map out your processes, know exactly where the technology is going to play. It's the work, the boring work really that nobody talks about, but a lot of small and medium businesses are struggling today with trying to set up their automation, get ROI on their technology spend, because they don't have the requisite process skills to make it work.
So what does this kind of practically look like? Let's say there's a small business guy or gal listening in and thinking, this sounds cool, but how could this practically help their business? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Sure. Process mapping is our first tool release, and it's the foundation of process work. And process mapping is nothing more in practice than writing down your process in a way that somebody else can understand it. So you don't need a fancy tool to do it. You could do it on paper right now. If you're a small business, you could say, okay, I just need to sit down. I need to write down a diagram so that I can communicate what this process is to either a technology company that I'm trying to partner with, to a new employee, to maybe an external shareholder if they just want to know what's going on. So that's what process mapping is. Our tools help, standardize the language to make it easier. But the use case practically is, let's say I want to get QuickBooks. I'm doing my books by hand today, and I want to get a basic accounting software. You might get somebody on the phone from QuickBooks, and the first thing they're going to ask you is, so what are you doing today? The answer to that question is a process question. And how effectively you can answer that question is basically going to determine how easy that integration or that relationship is going to go from there. And it's the same if you're trying to get basic project management software, if you're trying to get a CRM tool, if you're trying to get, you name it, any of these new, it's always going to be the same conversation. So writing down a process is the practical part, and it's just getting it for communication more so than anything else.
So what was it like starting this business? What was it built from? Meaning, did you see a solution in the market that wasn't there, and so you captured it, or were you just, you and some buddies messing around on your computer and thinking, man, we should build some sort of automation tool? Tell me what the story was behind actually starting the business.
Yeah, for sure. So I've had, and I still have my consulting brand. So that company has been in play for about 8 years now. And we do this type of process consulting. So it is an active gap in the market in terms of the tools and the knowledge that you need to do this job well. So I've been spending my entire career doing this manually, and I'm building this tool with our own clients as a use case to try to make it so that when we leave, the clients have something that they can continue to build this capability without us being in the room. Because there's no reason why I should have to be hired on site to do this work if they have the tools themselves. And that really is the genesis of this company. We're building the tools so that we don't have to be there, or we can leave better tooling and better capability for companies.
So what's the process like? Meaning, if there's a company that's interested, um, you know, do you help with just small or only large tasks, or do you help with small tasks? What's the process like for a company to engage with your technology and your company, Truvle?
Sure. So right now, Truvle is open to everyone. We built the company with the mission of creating more accessibility. So we're talking about small and medium businesses, but it's really applicable all the way up to the enterprise level. So big companies, small companies, doesn't matter. And right now, if you're interested in Truvle, you can certainly come to the site, send us an email at the info, subscribe. But mostly right now, we're just releasing our first product. So our sales process is really going out and finding enterprises in our network to help us build and partner with this tool so we can really get the word out and also test it in the field. That's the phase of where we're at.
Nice. So what have you learned? You've been doing this as a consultant now for, I think, eight years, you said. What have you learned from these folks that own businesses? You probably get to see the ups and downs. What are some traits that you think has helped make them be successful?
Yeah, and this I'm going to comment, it's going to be biased because I'm there helping them with process gaps. But the biggest thing in all the businesses I see in my career is we just don't have good process skills. Basic process communication, the ability to manage basic process data. A lot of times you hear the word process and your brain just turns off and you're like, ew, boring. It's like the least sexy part of business, processes. It means a lot of ugly things to people, and people tend to avoid it. But it's becoming increasingly hard to ignore process work in the digital age, in the age of automation and artificial intelligence. The things that you want, you need better process knowledge, and most companies don't have it at any size. Even the biggest companies in the Fortune 100, they are lacking basic process fundamentals that are making scaling with technology difficult for them. But I've seen small businesses too that struggle. Everyone's sort of struggling with this.
Yeah, I think about, a small business, maybe they got a couple pizza shops or something, and God forbid something happens to the owner, and the owner is the only person who knows how to do everything and nothing's written down. It would probably have been helpful to have some of these processes laid out.
And that's a perfectly good use case. And that's the same for any business of any size, which is we run business even today so much with tribal knowledge. You learn by watching, you learn by doing. There's not a lot of documentation, there's not a lot of references. In the technology world, they've gotten a lot better because people have to code and they have to write notes because a coder might have to step in behind them and pick up their work. We don't have that really well. There's not very much maturity on that on the business side. Like you said, I'm a pizza owner. If I leave or if I go on medical leave or whatever, nobody knows how to do anything. They don't know how to run the books. They don't know how to manage HR. They don't know because there's no documentation. There's no processes documented anywhere.
So does your company use AI? And if so, how has AI kind of changed the landscape for this kind of stuff?
Sure. So we're not actively using AI in our first release of our product, but we are already in the mindset of integrating it into future releases that are coming up this year. So artificial intelligence, it's going to impact everything because it's just making everything a lot easier. But for our product, when you talk about how we use artificial intelligence for the process mapping world, today, you, John, may tell me step by step what your process is, and I'm on the other side writing it down using the tool. We're hoping that AI can help that process where it can listen and translate directly into process diagrams. And then I would only have to edit what the AI does, which is sort of where I think a lot of AI applications are going, which it just makes it a little less laborious for me, where I'm just checking versus having to do all of it. So we're hoping that we can get that loaded up in our tool pretty soon too, because again, the whole point of our product is to make it easier for people, make the barrier to entry lower to doing process work.
That's awesome. So, how do you see the future of AI, even outside of, you're in the technology space, you own a company that has to dabble in technology. Where do you see, just like in general, AI going, as somebody that's kind of in the tech world?
Yeah. I see it going into a lot of different use cases, a lot of different applications, and I think it's going to make things a lot easier for folks. Now, I'm going to say, like, the question always has this implication with AI: is AI going to take over, and how fast, kind of thing? And is it going to knock a bunch of people out of jobs? That I don't really think is going to happen as quickly as people fear. Just as with most things that came before AI, AI is just the most advanced form of automation in general. We've been automating through software solutions for now several decades. We've been having big data, Internet of Things. Like, there's been all these big explosions of, oh, this is going to change everything. But the reality is it's very hard to integrate these functionally and comprehensively into large businesses. So most of the business out there is going to probably take the next 10 years to effectively deploy some of the AI tools we're seeing now. So I think it is going to change everything. But just like we've been going through massive change cycles for since the advent of the internet being practical, essentially, for the last 2 or 3 decades now. So I don't see any urgency, and I think good process work is going to lead the way, and companies will be able to use AI and different tools like that much faster if they understand their process data.
So who's somebody, you're a tech founder, you're probably around those types of people, maybe more than the average person is. Who's somebody that you've looked up to in the industry, and why?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I wish I was around more of those people in my day-to-day basis, but networking, we're getting there. So in terms of tech companies, though, the people who I've looked to my whole career, people who founded quiet kind of products that exploded, like the CEO of Salesforce, the CEO of tools like Monday.com and some of the bigger project management softwares. I look up to those guys more as models to, I think, what a successful SaaS company looks like and a successful arc of a SaaS company versus some of the other, like Zuckerberg, Jobs, like some of the big names, because I think they've built a more sustainable path for entrepreneurs. So I'd say those are kind of my idols in a way in the tech space.
Yeah, like everyday tools like Slack, like,
Yeah.
that didn't exist 10 years ago, or maybe it did, but those tools have been very helpful to entrepreneurs and businesses. And my guess is your tool, aspires to be that big, if not bigger. Do you have any competition in this space, or is this kind of like, are you guys in terms of people that are trying to do this in a cutting edge type way?
Yeah, it's a yes and a no. So exactly what we're trying to do, we have no competitors, but you could say anyone who allows you to build a process map any way you want. There's a lot of competitors like Miro and Lucid Charts, Microsoft Visio. There's a ton of applications out there that are open canvases where you can diagram process information and make maps and make visuals. Our tool is very opinionated. So it's trying to bring that knowledge into it to tell you, here's not a blank page, just go ahead and go nuts. This is how you do it correctly. And this is how you do it in a way that's going to make it easier for you to actually accomplish this work consistently. And in that way, guided tools, not much competition. Being able to build process visualizations, a lot of competition.
Yeah. Why is it important for a business to invest in something like this? There's 100 different ways a business owner's pulled every single day.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, why do you think this is a good investment for folks?
Sure. I'm going to try to describe this image that I refer to a lot in the process world, where you've got a bunch of cavemen that are pushing a wagon with square wheels, and they're just digging themselves into a rut. And a guy behind them is holding a circular wheel and says, hey, why don't we try this? And they just say, the guys who are pushing the square wheel say, we don't have time for that. That's a new process. We don't have time for that. So hopefully that evokes something in you, but that's the answer truly, which is that process improvement is not something that anyone wants to do. It's the outcome you want. Whatever you're doing now, in whatever kind of business you're in, if you invest in process tools, the idea is that you'll be able to do whatever you're doing faster, smarter, more effectively, and more scalably, more sustainably. And to be able to do that, you have to have a grasp of your processes. You have to be able to describe them. You have to be able to communicate them. You have to be able to analyze them and talk to them about other people. So why invest in our tooling? It allows you that capability. It allows you to quickly document, understand, communicate. And that's the basis for just making your business more effective no matter what you're doing.
So I'm sure there's going to be folks that listen to this thinking, oh my gosh, we don't have any processes for my business. They're just flinging by the seat of their pants, or they're, using just tribal knowledge or, owner's brain, and that's about it. What's a way for folks to hear more about what you're doing? Give us those details, website, social media, all that kind of stuff for folks to go check out. We'll also put it in the description of the podcast as well.
Sure. Yeah, so Truvle.com, Truvle.com. If you sign up to our newsletter, you'll get updates from us. We have a social handle. I'm embarrassed. I can never remember what it is. I think it's Truvle Business, and that's on Instagram. You can find Truvle on LinkedIn. If you follow us there, you'll get posts from us, and there's content there. But honestly, there's a lot of speaking. I'm on a lot of podcasts, and all I do is talk about process. So if you're really interested in the topic, look me up. And there's not any Drauschaks online. So if you type in Sam Drauschak, you'll find me. You'll find other material. You'll find other talks that go in different directions around this. But it's a fascinating time to be in process, especially if you want to be in process science, process engineering. So if you have any interest, I would heavily encourage you to go out there and look, and also reach out to me directly. You can find me on LinkedIn by my name. I love to talk process. Just be careful, because if you reach out to me and you want to talk process, you might get more than you want. But I love it. It's what I live for.
So what's the ultimate goal with the business? Is this something that you think could be utilized by every major enterprise out there? What's some of the dreams and goals that you all have?
Sure. So our goal is to help the most people advance their businesses and advance this type of work. And in regards to how big could we get, this could be used by the entire marketplace. So it's going to be as big as we are successful in providing value and providing a great service. We don't particularly as a company have this objective that, hey, we're going to go like unicorn or decacorn or whatever all the crazy things are that people talk about now. We just want to make sure that we're sustainable as a business, and we're able to help, and we're able to learn, and we're able to evolve the market consciousness, more or less. That's our guiding principles as founders.
Nice. Well, any last minute thoughts here? I think people are going to be very curious and interested to go check out all your stuff. For folks listening in, I'm going to put all the links in the podcast description. And if you just caught the tail end here, folks, I want to encourage you to go back and listen in. If you have a small business, medium-sized business, large-sized business, having processes is very important. And Sam's got this down to a science, literally. So I want to encourage you to go check out his stuff. But Sam, any last minute thoughts here before we head off? The floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. My last minute thoughts are, don't even worry about the Truvle tool. If you're like, oh, this guy's just here selling more software, write down your processes on paper first. Even if you're listening and you're thinking processes ick, and this is something I don't want to do, you will learn, even if you're just in a room by yourself and you write down what you do. It's like holding up a mirror to your business processes to be able to see your operations. And especially if you're in a digital business, which a lot of entrepreneurs are now, we're in digital services, that's the way the market's going. It can be transformative. So even if you don't believe me, my closing thoughts are, write your processes down, look at them, think about them, work with them. You're going to be very surprised by the insight generated in the exercise.
Awesome. Well, Sam, I appreciate you joining us here on the United States of Small Business podcast. We wish you nothing but success for what you're doing. And folks listening, again, we're going to put all the links in the podcast description. I encourage you to go check Sam's tool out. I think it's important to map out your processes, and oftentimes it's one of the last thing we do as business owners. So kudos to you, Sam, for helping fill a gap in the market that is otherwise not met. So hope everybody has a phenomenal rest of their week. And until next time, I'm John Quick from the United States Small Business Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, Sam.
Thank you.